Gentlemen, I am proud to bring you this video. I'm not going to lie, yesterday, maybe we saw our props go what? It was 2 for 5. We just got absolutely wrecked, having a losing week here in week 2. Hopefully week 3 is a little bit better. I will say Underdog heard that we are having an issue getting these winning props going. So they're like, you know what, Mason, you are dumb enough where we kind of got to help you out here. We have to go through and do something for you. So they got us a special prop that we are going to be able to look at week 4. But of course, before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And if you want to go check out any of these player props, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You're going to get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, and you will also get something really cool. Of course, these are all the player props. You can go check them out whenever you want, but you will also be able to see that... Ooh, wrong one. We'll get there in 1 second. That week 4, we are going to have a special promo only for people who use promo code FLOCK. If you signed up for Underdog and you didn't use promo code FLOCK, joke's on you. Ha ha ha. You should have used code FLOCK, because everybody who did is not only going to get their first deposit match dollar for dollar up to 100, but you will also get access to a special Cooper Kupp player line at half a receiving yard. So maybe we keep on getting crushed with these, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that Cooper Kupp is going to have half a receiving yard in week 4. That's not going to be available until next week, though. So you're not going to see it right now, but just giving you a heads up. Go sign up for Underdog with code FLOCK so you have access to this. But that should be it. Let's go through and let's check out our first prop. Go take every over on the University of Texas Longhorns. Hook 'em horns. We are going to wreck Tech today, okay? Let's just say that. And of course, God, y'all think I'm bad at NFL props. We were horrible at college. But let's move over to our first real prop of this week. We are going to go over to the Buffalo Bills-Miami Dolphins game. I understand, yes, you actually had Raheem Mostert expanding his role, where if we're looking at the snaps played between Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds, week 1, Chase Edmonds was the 3-down running back. He was getting every single touch in this backfield. Whereas week 2, that completely flipped, where Raheem Mostert was actually in a 50-50 running back by committee playing alongside Chase Edmonds. And I know that we could say, okay, well, this is going to be a very similar game environment. The Miami Dolphins are going to be playing from behind. Naturally, we can assume that because we've never really seen Raheem Mostert throughout his entire NFL career, and the man's 30 years old, be an effective pass catcher out of the backfield, I think we get a little bit more Chase Edmonds this week than we're going to see Raheem Mostert. I mean, I think just looking at this, 51.5 rushing and receiving yards, maybe if this was going to be a game where we assumed that, the Miami Dolphins, I don't want to say they're not going to be competitive. Y'all know I love Jalen Waddle. I'm rooting for the Miami Dolphins to go out there and throw 6 passing touchdowns again. But, dear God, looking at the Buffalo Bills defense shutting down Matthew Stafford week 1, following that up with shutting down the Tennessee Titans to 7 total points week 2. I am worried about that defense. Now, speaking of the Buffalo Bills defense being possibly the best in the NFL, if not the best defense in the NFL, I think that we have a bounce back game from Ryan Tannehill, who embarrassed himself here going up against that Bills defense. Now, I understand, yes, if we're looking at Ryan Tannehill here, 7 points, 7 total points for the Tennessee Titans. They couldn't move the ball down the field in the slightest in Monday night's game against Buffalo. But if we go back to week 1 with what we saw with the Buffalo Bills shutting down Matthew Stafford, I think that this is just a brutal matchup that you need to be avoiding the Buffalo Bills defense at all times. If we go through and look at Ryan Tannehill and 207.5 passing yards over the past 2 seasons, he's hit this mark 12 times. He's gone with the under 7 times. So hell, we are hitting this more times than not. Now, of course, we talked about the situation being significantly worse coming into Tennessee this season with a much worse offensive line, also with no A.J. Brown. So maybe you can make the argument that the numbers that we had with Ryan Tannehill a year ago aren't really reflective of what we should be assuming right now. But Raiders have allowed more than 207.5 passing yards each game through the first 2. If we look at Las Vegas totals right now from sportsbooks, they have this as a competitive contest between the Tennessee Titans and the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'll be fine taking the over on 207.5 passing yards for Tannehill here. And Jalen Hurts, a quarterback that has been phenomenal through the first 2 weeks. You would naturally assume that we actually get some positive regression in the passing game for the Philadelphia Eagles, as they really haven't been playing in competitive contests. I understand, yes, you do have the Philadelphia Eagles week 1 with a close-ish game when it was all said and done against the Detroit Lions. But in reality, throughout the majority of that game, the Philadelphia Eagles were up by multiple touchdowns. However, I still think taking the under at 1.5 passing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts going up against Washington is going to be a fine mark. Now, this Washington defense has been atrocious. I mean, they just gave up 1 million points to the Detroit Lions. But if we're looking at the Jalen Hurts 1.5 passing touchdown mark, he has hit this 6 times and he has missed it 12 times over the past 18 games for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a new Eagles team. Yes, we do have A.J. Brown here, but I think given the fact that the Eagles, in my opinion, should just roll Washington, I think that this is an offense that can run the ball, and Jalen Hurts himself can run it. But let's go through and let's look at Alvin Kamara over 2.5 receptions. Now, let me go through, and we picked this out last night. Let me see if we have any additional news on Alvin Kamara here. Now, the thing is, if you take an Alvin Kamara over 2.5 reception mark on Underdog and then say Alvin Kamara is inactive for his game, then what ends up happening is with Alvin Kamara, you just get washed out of that bet. So say you go bet $5 on this and then it doesn't hit because he didn't play, then Underdog doesn't get that $5. It just stays right with you. So if we're looking at this, he's still officially questionable, but he had 3 limited practices this week. We don't have any official news over the past few hours. So I think that we probably got to go through and take the over on Kamara here, because if we look at the past 2 seasons with Alvin Kamara, he has hit this 11 times, only missed it 4. I think that this is a pseudo-competitive game between the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. I understand everybody wants to panic with Alvin Kamara here. Of course, the rib injury does change a few things, but if we go back and look at the 11 times he's hit this versus the 4 times he hasn't over the past 2 seasons, the times he hasn't, you had Taysom Hill in the majority of those games starting at quarterback. With Taysom Hill, we know that he's going to rush the ball himself, so we can assume that the target share inherently is going to be a little bit lower for Alvin Kamara here. So I think that we have to go through. I think that we have to bump up Kamara, even though I know a lot of people are going to be concerned in general. Okay. But now let's go through and let's check out our next line. This one's going to be Jeff Wilson, 55.5 rushing yards. With Jeff Wilson, I mean, I think if anything, we probably were a little bit too pessimistic with Jeff Wilson this week in our running back rankings, because we weren't looking at the fact that this running back room, the depth has been washed out as well. Now, Jordan Mason has an elite level name, but if we look at the pedigree he has coming into the NFL, I think it's very hard to assume that Jordan Mason is anything here. So let's go through. Let's take the over on Jeff Wilson. Right now, Las Vegas sportsbooks have the San Francisco 49ers as the favorites over the Denver Broncos. I think that Russell Wilson does have a bounce back game, but I think this is a spot where we could see Jeff Wilson and the 49ers running very often. And that should be it for the time that we are looking at our top 5 player props. Those are going to be the official ones that we have on the books. But we had a lot of people telling us in the live stream last time that they wanted us to go through and they wanted us to crowdsource our last pick. So let's go with the community lock player prop. Please, I know everybody here is pretty much signed up for Underdog, has used promo code FLOCK already. And quick side note, if you have not done so already, as you get ready to tell me your favorite player prop of the week, of course, this is going to be available for everybody who use promo code FLOCK. Half a receiving yard, but not until week 4. Not until week 4, but make sure you go sign up for Underdog now. Make sure you use promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So you're essentially getting to check it out for free anyway. And if you use promo code FLOCK, you are going to get this half a receiving yard line that we need to take the over, obviously. Okay, but Tommy says Tua Tagovailoa at 1.5 passing touchdowns is a lock here. So let's go look at the Tua lines. Yeah, you have Tua at 1.5 passing touchdowns, 270.5 total yards. I mean, with the Buffalo Bills defense, I really want to be betting that they are the best defense in the NFL. I want to be betting that the Buffalo Bills have a good chance of just limiting Miami overall. Now, for that reason, that's why we decided to go through and take the under on Raheem Mostert. I agree. We can't take any of the unders on Tua Tagovailoa here. I'm not that ecstatic to go through and jam in any overs for the Miami Dolphins this week, though. Even though I'm hoping they have a big game, I'm hoping that we get Jalen Waddle out again crushing. I don't know. This Buffalo Bills defense is scary. Okay. So I think that should be it. Tyson says Dameon Pierce touchdown. Let me check this out. So Dameon Pierce, they took the touchdown line down, it seems. I'd say Dameon Pierce, anytime touchdown. I don't even know if we really like that line. Of course, the Chicago Bears here have allowed the most rushing yards of any NFL team so far this year. So it is a good matchup overall for Dameon Pierce. But I think that should probably be it for this live stream. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Go check out all these player props. Use promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the live chat. You can find it in the description. I will be live again later today to give all the most recent injury updates. And then we'll be live again tonight for probably about 4 or 5 hours answering all your fantasy football questions. And we'll be live again tomorrow morning answering all your fantasy football questions as well. But thank you again. I appreciate y'all. And I hope we see you in the live stream later. If not, I hope you have great plans for your Saturday, your weekend in general. And I wish you the best of luck for your week 3 matchup.